Hello my dear church boys and welcome back to yet another episode of St. Robert's Daygame and Dating Podcast, and this time we're going to be talking about what you can do to compete with guys who are younger, better looking and with better social skills. If you're in your 30s or 40s hitting the streets and approaching young, beautiful girls in their 20s, well then I have bad news for you. You are competing with a lot of young, good-looking, athletic dudes who can spit game. And you might think you are at a disadvantage, and you are if you're playing the game by their rules. But if you learn to play the game of dating by your rules and use your strengths, you actually have much better odds at dating. So let's talk about how you can compete with younger guys who have better game. Daygame attracts a lot of different types of men. The early adapters or pickup artists trying to fuck everything that moves, but over time, the idea of being able to overcome your fears and approach and date the most beautiful and interesting women started to seem like a good next challenge to a lot of successful men. Guys who had a lot already figured out in their lives, entrepreneurs, very successful digital nomads, and even public figures. Heck, I've even coached some guys who got recognized by the girls they approached on the street. Learning Daygame if you are a young, tall, good-looking social butterfly is one thing. Putting on a leather jacket and just becoming a bad boy might seem cool to you. But what to do if you are a more established man who doesn't really feel like pretending to be someone you're not, and after all, you know that you already have everything that the girls are supposed to like. You're doing okay financially, you've done a lot of interesting things in your life, you're intelligent, maybe closer to 40 or 50 than you are to your 20s. You are what women should want, and yet when you are approaching them, they don't seem to be like what you're offering. I've worked with a lot of guys like that, and let me tell you that you can do much better than the young guys when it comes to really dating the hottest women out there. Before we talk about what you should do to compete with the younger guys, let's start by looking at what you shouldn't do. Don't play by their rules. If you're watching dating content on YouTube, then you have probably noticed that there is a persona everyone is pushing. Everyone is saying you have to be more of a bad boy, and you see a lot of guys, wearing leather jackets, walking down the streets, approaching these chicks, but they're all pushing this bad boy idea. The old slogans, be the cat, not the dad, and things like that. Well, guess what? You don't have to be the stereotypical leather jacket wearing bad boy daygamer if that's not who you are. This is happening because guys are looking at who is doing good with women, and this bad boy persona, well, he's doing good, and that's real. If you are someone who's like that, you'll probably do pretty good with women. But if you are not, and you're trying to pretend to be someone you're not, then well, it's not gonna be congruent, and well, don't try to beat these guys at their own game, because you have so much more to offer than they do. So if you hear dating coaches suggesting that you should be the cat and not the dad, and you see all of their students wearing leather jackets and boots and walking the same streets, and they're all pretending to be this bad boy persona, then well, why is that happening? Because back in the day, most daygamers, well, a lot of successful daygamers were like that. The bad boy image really worked, but the problem is that's the only image they cracked. That's the only type of a daygamer they cracked. They never really figured out how to help out guys who aren't the kind of natural bad boys. And trying to convert everyone in a bad boy is not a solution. Now that this is out of the way, let's talk about what you should do. I was recently coaching a student, and I was listening to him chatting to a girl on the street, and the set, to be honest, wasn't going that good. But then the girl said she was interested in becoming an architect, and the next thing the student did, he teased her about being similar to the Leonardo da Vinci, who was doing all of these things and also architecture. And surprise, surprise, the girl started giggling. She liked it so much that she instantly hooked, opened up on the set, ended up in a date. Teasing a girl being similar to Leonardo da Vinci. By the way, I might be wrong that it was Leonardo da Vinci because I'm not good with these historical things, but teasing a girl about anything like that is definitely not something you're gonna read in any Daygame books, or you're not gonna see it on any pickup YouTube channels or anything like that, because That is not what the bad boy does. That is too artsy. That is too soft. But yet, that is what saved that conversation. Also, a few years back, I was coaching a student in Poland, in Warsaw, and when it comes to the typical day game advice of learning to tease girls and good storytelling and being the cocky, funny guy, well, he was not getting those things at all. And when he tried, the girls all of a sudden had to go. Yet, we figured out that he's very good when he's talking about topics he's interested in, that he knows a lot about. And when talking about these topics, he's also able to tease with the girl. And then he was able to build a lot of attraction by talking about topics that typically are the topics that in a day game community, everyone would advise you not talk about. Topics like philosophy books, like psychology books, etc. So what did we do? We simply used nice little kind of tricks to steer the conversation towards these topics. And yet, yes, a bunch of girls were not interested in those things. But the ones who were, well, boom, now he was playing his A game. He was chatting about topics that he knew a lot about, while also because he was feeling so free and comfortable when talking about these topics, that the feeling of being so free and comfortable let him also tease, storytell, and all of a sudden become a bit more of a cocky, funny guy. And there are a bunch of other examples. Oftentimes when I coach someone with a lot of life experience who's well-traveled or has done different things in his life, when these topics come up, they can use these things to build attraction with the girl. That oftentimes works very, very good. The same is for guys that because, again, they're not 20 anymore. They're able to take charge and lead the conversation. Those are their strong suits. And that's what they're doing very good to build attraction, comfort, take numbers, and then get dates afterwards. All these examples are of guys that were doing things that typically, when you look at the stereotypical dating, day game, pickup, whatever advice, are the things that everyone says you shouldn't do, but they use these things to their advantage, and you can do that too. But there is a trap. So let's talk about why smart guys suck at day game. Smart guys suck at day game because they believe the mainstream dating advice. The mainstream advice says that things like money, status, having a lot of life experience, having good habits, living a healthy lifestyle, and being an intelligent guy are the things that women really like in men. But the beautiful and interesting women have guys throwing these things at them all the time. They've seen it all, and it's super boring for them. Or something else happens, and this is much worse. They see that they're doing these things, and oh my God, there are women who really like that, but there is a problem. They've quickly realized that these women are either strictly looking for a monogamous relationship, or even worse, they see that these guys believe these mainstream beliefs, they're a little bit naive, and they're after their money. This is why we hear so many stories of very nice guys who seem to have everything that women want, ending up in terrible relationships, some of which end not soon after getting married, and then, well, surprise, surprise, they lose half of what they had. These men haven't learned to be interesting. You can have all of these things, but you also have to know how to make women attracted to you. And to do that, you need a certain type of communication skills, not the type of communication skills you can use in your business or with your friends, but a type of skills that seduce women. So you have to learn to make them attracted to you by teasing, storytelling, building connection with them very fast. That's the missing part they don't have. Smart guys suck at dating because they don't understand this, while the young, natural bad boys become very good at this and do great, even though they're not really bringing anything more to the table. But what if you could do both? Be the guy who knows how to talk to women to make them attracted to you and seduce them, while also bringing a lot to the table. What do you think women prefer? A young guy who knows how to smooth talk them, but doesn't really bring anything to the table and has zero potential to ever become their partner? A man who knows how to talk to them and seduce them, but is also an interesting person to hang out with outside of the bedroom. And if one day somehow this turned into something more serious, he would also be an amazing partner. Is the cool, interesting guy who knows how to be respectful towards women, but also knows how to seduce them and fuck them really well. So how do you spark attraction and connect with women fast? The more active your social life is, the faster you'll be able to learn this. This is why younger guys oftentimes learn Daygame faster. If you're spending a lot of time running your business and pursuing other goals, you probably aren't used to flirting with women all the time. If you're working a serious job, then learning to attract women will probably take some work. Well, that is why I can do what I do for a living, to teach guys like you to become successful with women. If you're a social guy, just go to my YouTube channel and under playlists find the Structured Natural Approach video series. Watch everything there, go out, start approaching, implement everything you learned in the videos, and pretty soon you should start getting some results. If you're not a social guy, then there is no magic formula, and the fastest way to get good at chatting up women on the streets will be to get some help. You can get infield coaching where I'll teach you everything you need to know while we will be hitting the streets and chatting up girls together for a week. Or you can learn remotely by doing some coaching calls in our private community and online coaching program, but you can do a bit more research on those by clicking both links in the description and seeing what fits more your lifestyle, maybe learning everything fast within 1 week or learning it more on your own kind of over a longer period of time by doing some coaching calls. But there are some things you can start doing right away, and the first one is to understand your strengths. You have 4 strengths, and the first one is things you are interested in. Things like art, travel, photography, psychology, and similar ones. You can become very good at talking about these things with women, not in a boring way, but with teases, interesting storytelling, etc. And then find ways how to steer your conversations towards these topics. If you like art, in the beginning of a conversation, make an assumption that she looks like someone who is an artist or who spends a lot of time in art galleries, because a lot of women do, and if she's one of them, voila, pretty soon you'll be talking about your favorite topic. Women like these things, and if you can be the guy who can both seduce her but also have interesting conversations about these topics, then you are the jackpot. It's like a woman who's beautiful and classy in public but can deep throat really good. But you have to balance this though. Don't be the guy she goes to art galleries with but who's stuck in the friend zone. Sex first, art galleries later. Remember, you still have to know how to seduce her. Your second strength, interesting stories and life experiences. The more life experiences you have, the more topics you can have interesting conversations about. Imagine that she's a dentist. Well, you might not have much to say about dentists, but well, maybe 10 years ago you traveled around Colombia with an old friend of yours who now happens to be a dentist. I bet there are a few stories there. Or she might be from Italy and you know jack shit about Italy, but maybe years ago you spent a night with a girl from Italy who told you about growing up in Rome, and now you can use some teases and stories you learned from that girl when teasing this girl. Maybe you simply have a lot of interesting past experiences and stories that you can tell if the conversation happens to move towards the topic, or if you happen to somehow steer the conversation to those topics. We all have interesting stories like that, but we simply have forgotten them. So now it's time to remember them. And I have a very simple exercise for you to do that. This is an exercise I learned about years ago. I've done it. I've suggested a lot of my students do it. And in general, it's a great exercise to remember that you have a lot of interesting things in your past. The way you do this is you open a new note and you write the alphabet vertically. So A, B, C, D, and all in a one vertical column. And then you go over the alphabet, each letter, and you think, hey, what story do I have from my life on this letter? And well, maybe you'll have something on A and B, but you'll have nothing on C and D, but then you'll find other stories that you have had in your life, and you will slowly build a library of stories. Maybe you go through it once, you write down 5 stories, you go back, look at it again, you can write down some more stories, etc. And if I look at this exercise for myself, then on letter A, I would have Argentina, where I have spent a lot of time over the last 4 years, and I have a bunch of stories about that. Letter B, I would have Berlin. When I was 19 or 20 years old, on my second year of university, I spent a semester studying near Berlin. On C, I would have simply car. Because when we were dumb teenagers, we were riding cars on like the roads of the countryside and doing dumb shit way before we were legally allowed to do that. On letter D, I would have drugs, because I have a lot of drug stories from a friend of mine who spent several years in prison for wholesaling cocaine, etc., etc. So I highly suggest you go through this exercise to see what type of stories you have in your past, just so you remember them. And then you can, if these topics come up, use these stories, maybe build some theses from them, etc., to build attraction in these interactions. Your third strength is that you can afford to take good care of your style and grooming. While younger guys have to rely on good looks and the latest trends they get in H&M, you can afford to take really good care of your style and grooming. I highly suggest you polish your style. It doesn't mean you have to become yet another stereotypical bad boy, but no, you can build a good style around kind of your personality, around your lifestyle. It doesn't have to be something crazy, but you can have a very good style regardless of what it is you do for a living and where in the world you live. And fix your grooming. Don't be the 40-year-old dad. Be the 40-year-old guy girls fantasize about. Be, I don't know, George Clooney 20 years ago. But I suggest getting professional help to do that, because guys are pretty bad at that style and grooming and things like that. So simply find a stylist. You can do that in your city. Or I have a stylist that has been taking care of my looks for the last 10 years, and she has worked with at least half of the guys that I've coached and a bunch of guys in my private community. She's so good with working with new day gamers that I've actually included her service as a standard of most coaching packages. But if you're interested in working with her, then she can work with the guys remotely. As I said, she's worked with at least half of the guys that I've coached, and simply send me an email telling me you're interested, and I'll send you all the information about her. And your fourth strength is that there is potential for something more serious. Many young guys want to sleep with everything that moves, while most guys that I coach, yes, they want to improve their dating skills and they want to go out with more beautiful and more interesting women. They kind of want to have access to the class of women they didn't have access to before. They want to have fun for a year or two, but if they find the right girl in the future, they're interested in starting something more serious. Hot women have seen all the moves. Actually, I think that's why it's easier to sleep with a 20-year-old than it is with a 25-year-old, because a 20-year-old might think you're being smooth, while 25-year-old just has seen all these moves before from guys that ghosted her right after having sex. You do not necessarily have to specifically be looking for something serious right now, but if it is hypothetically maybe on a table in the future, she will already react better to everything you're doing, and you will need less sleazy pickup moves. And if there are no sleazy pickup moves, you will connect with her much better. This is actually why I believe a lot of day gamers, they hit a ceiling to the hotness of women they want to be with, because they kind of cliche pickup stuff only gets you so far. At a certain level, girls have seen all the bullshit and they simply see through it. So unless you're able to genuinely connect with her, it's not gonna work. And if you can connect with women without all of these moves, a whole new level of experiences opens up in front of you. But be careful. It's important to know you're not misleading her. Don't pretend you want something serious in the future if you don't. That is much worse than ghosting her after sex. That's what complete idiots do, because they believe that the only way to sleep with a girl is pretend that you want to be together with her. That's not what I'm talking about here. All I'm saying is that if you're open to the idea of starting a relationship with the right woman in the future, then each date you go on could lead to different directions. You might have sex once with a lot of them, date some of them casually for a while, but then once you meet the right one in the future, you might start a relationship with her. Build your game around your real personality. The key to successful dating life is to build your day game skills around your real personality. Don't be the leather jacket wearing day gamer running around Zloty Terasy in Warsaw or Oxford Circus in London calling all girls Italian. Be the guy who can attract women while showing his real personality. The less a guy has to offer, the more he has to rely on fake lines and stories, but the more you're bringing to the table, the more you can afford to build your game around your personality. That is why successful guys with more life experience can do so much better with women than the average day gamer. If you want me to help you build your day game skills around your personality, then consider getting infield coaching, where I will teach you everything you need to know, from overcoming your approach anxiety so you can start approaching to starting the conversation the right way. So instead of hearing excuses like I have to go, I have a boyfriend, you would actually have nice longer conversations with these girls. You will learn how to build attraction and comfort so you're not only getting numbers, but these girls are happy to go out with you. You'll find all the details about how coaching usually works, approximate pricing, etc. by clicking the link in description. That's it for this time. See you in the next episode. Ciao, guys.